Oh, well, hello there, you beautiful human. I'm Andrea Dawn, and today we're going to do a physical asana practice that is based on tapas, or creating heat or fire or agni within. And so we will focus, our highlighted posture will be plank pose. So I'll talk a little bit more about that as we move through the practice. Just noting that tapas is one of the niyamas. If we look at the 8-limb or the eightfold path of yoga, the second limb is called the niyamas, of which there are 5. And these are kind of like the responsibilities we have to ourselves. And the third niyama is tapas. And this can also be translated to discipline. And sometimes the word discipline can be maybe a little bit prickly, but I like to think about it as either commitment or disciple. And if I think about what am I a disciple of? A disciple of yoga. I am a student of yoga. And so what I need to do is commit to that practice each day to create that internal heat that will burn away all of the impurities of which are poisoning me. So let's get started in a comfortable seat. And once you arrive there, align your ears over your shoulders, over your hips. And then let's just start by taking an inhalation and drawing the shoulders up towards the ears, and then exhale back and down. Today we'll take Kali Mudra. So Kali is the goddess of death and destruction. So we can think about that sometimes as the need to burn away to create space. And so she's our warrior in crime for that. And Kali Mudra is where you interlace the hands. You'll steeple the forefingers. The left thumb is over the right. And then you can just bring that to heart center. And we'll take a moment here to set your own intention for the practice. So it might have to do with inner fire, tapas, discipline, commitment, or not. But whatever that intention is, let's get very clear about it, boil it to one word, and then start to repeat it to yourself internally as you breathe. Keep your intention in mind. And then begin to lift your Kali Mudra up towards the sky. And then on an out breath, you'll lower Kali Mudra. Flip the forefingers down towards the earth as if you're slicing through any negativity or any swirling drama that's keeping you from recognizing the truth of who you really are. We'll bring our hands to prayer, seal in the intention one final time. Flutter your eyes open, remove any props that you might be using, and we're going to start today on our backs in Supta Baddha Konasana, or reclined bound angle pose. So for this, when you get down onto your back, you'll just bring the soles of your feet together and your knees out wide, and then arrange your heels a comfortable distance away from your sits bones. Bring one hand to your belly, one hand to your chest. Come back to your intention and begin to slow down your breathing, and maybe even begin your ujjayi breath, your audible breath, your breath of victory. So this can be a cooling or heating breath. Most often in asana practice, it's used as a heating breath. So we're dragging the breath along the back of the throat. And you can connect this with creating your inner fire. So you might even think of it as like when you do the rubbing to begin the fire, right? Or the sticks, we're doing that internally. stay with your Ujjayi breath. Extend your legs out long. Keep them about 2 fist widths apart. Flex your feet. So you're drawing your toes in towards you and your heels away from you. Then reach your arms up towards the sky and press your palms. So if your ceiling was flat, it's like they'd be parallel to the ceiling. Good. Then reach, reach, reach. Then retract the shoulders back and down. Reach. So you're going to protract, retract, protract, retract, protract, and then retract halfway. So you're somewhere in between. Then draw your armpits down. So it's like you're drawing your shoulder blades onto your back. Now, tune into your legs, engage your quads, engage your glutes, and press your navel down towards your spine. So we're in a lying down plank position, also known as Phalakasana and Kumbhakasana. And I believe Phalaka means plank and Phala means to bear the fruits. All right, circle out the wrists, circle out the ankles. Good. Keep the arms up and then lift the left leg. You'll reach the right hand towards the left leg and bring the left arm down. And we're just going to continue that from side to side. So as the left leg goes down and the right arm goes down, the right leg comes up and the left arm comes up. And so we're just going to move that a little bit more fluidly with your breath from side to side. Now, the next time that your left leg is up and your right arm is up, pause. Take the hands, interlace them behind the hamstring, the knee, the calf, wherever is comfortable, and cross that leg slightly over to the midline. And you might find opposition here where you're pressing the leg into the held hands and using the held hands to press back into your body. You might take a few ankle rolls, flex and point the feet. Good, then we'll hug the knee in towards the chest and then over towards the armpit. Good, now start to lift the right knee, bend it, cross the left knee over the right. So now you're in a deep cross like you'd be seated in a chair with the legs lifted. Take the hands to the outer knees, the outer shins, the outer ankles, and you can start to draw the legs away from one another and slightly downward. Sometimes discipline gets a bad rap, but I like to equate it with freedom. That when I create structure in my life, I have the freedom to feel safe and play and create. And I used to teach kindergarten, and it was a very clear example. If there was no structure, the kids went mad and wild and things ended up chaotic. Someone got hurt, people were crying, there was tattling. If there was structure, if everybody knew what the guidelines were, what the boundaries were, that's when we had our most creative, most productive, most fun times together. All right, we're gonna lower the right leg down, but keep the cross. Now, take your arms out wide to a diagonal and we'll just start to move the cross legs from side to side and think of it as a ladder. So each time you'll go down a rung and take it a little bit further. And eventually drop it over towards your right. So we're moving into a spinal twist. Now for some of us, this might be way too much in the beginning of a practice, and you could just unravel your legs and keep them stacked. You might also slide your hips a little bit over towards the left so that your sternum is in line with your sacrum, right? So we've got a straight line coming down, then we can find a deeper twist. So in terms of our tapas and our discipline, it's a lot of releasing like want. I don't want to do it. But acknowledging what you know that you need to do for your health, for your nourishment, what you need to do to be in alignment with your values. And all of that is what burns away the impurities. And we can think of impurities. Sometimes when I say the word impure, it almost feels like, oh, like this badness. But think of impurities as things that have been programmed into us, such as a limiting belief, like I'm not smart, or I don't remember things, or any type of limiting belief that you have that's not necessarily true. Those are all things that need to be burned away from our psyche. All right, let's bring it back through center, unravel the legs, give them a few windshield wipers from side to side. And then we'll repeat that on the other side. So you'll just extend your legs out long. And we'll start moving from opposite arm to opposite leg. So just a few rounds. Remember to continue to link your breath and your movement. So when you think about what the practice of yoga is, yoga meaning yoke or unifying, how do we do that? We can think about our koshas or our layers or our sheaths, and our Annamaya kosha, or our most outer layer, our physical body, starts to unite with our energetic level, our pranamaya kosha, when we link the movement to the breath. Okay, right leg up, left arm up. You'll take the hands, interlace them, calf behind the knee, behind the hamstring, and then cross it over towards the midline. So when we determine the definition of yoga, right, when people will be like, well, it's just stretching. Well, yes, stretching is involved. And what else are we doing that is more than stretching that makes it yoga? And a lot of it is this linking, this unifying. And accessing deeper levels of ourself. Because once we move past that, the breath, the prana, we move into manamaya kosha, which is our mental layer, right? So by accessing the body, it's like the koshas are the keys, and we turn the keys to start to move into our pre-programmed patterns that are resulting in behaviors that are not serving us. Okay, from there, bend the knee, and then we'll cross the legs. So we're coming to this deep cross. And then the hands can come to the outer knees, outer shins, outer ankles. You'll draw away and down. And we want to be able to move past that manamaya kosha, the mental layer, to get to our vrigyanamaya kosha, because that's where the knowledge and the wisdom, right, the true intelligence lies. And once we can access that part of us, then we can access Anandamaya kosha, which is our bliss body. If you're interested in that, I have a whole playlist of koshas on the YouTube channel. You can click on each one. There's a short explanation, but that might help you get more clear about what is yoga and how it helps us live as a whole being. Look at our parts, acknowledge them, question them, be curious about them, and then unite them. All right, sole of the left foot down. You'll keep the cross. Arms come out to a wide diagonal to ground, and then we'll come back to that ladder where we're just moving from side to side, and each time going down another rung. Until eventually you come to your spinal twist. And again, discerning whether it's too much to have your knees or your legs crossed and you need to unravel, or maybe sliding the hips a little bit more over towards the right. Then you can take the arms and move them up to a T or cactus arms, and the gaze to shift over the right shoulder. Another part of the physical practice that is distinguishable from stretching is a drishti. So in every posture, we're cued to have a drishti or a gaze, or where we place our focus. It could be the tip of the nose. It might be 7 or 8 feet in front of you. It might be internal. But a lot of what yoga is developing one-pointed focus. And so where you put your gaze, where you put your attention determines that. All right, let's bring that back through center, and then you'll give yourself a few windshield wipers to even out. Extend your legs up into the air, extend your arms up to the air, and we're just gonna do a good shake, 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 shake. I find shaking to be really helpful and also kind of fun. All right, then we'll come up to all fours. So whatever that looks like for you. For some of us, we might rock and roll. We might touch base with the articulation of the spine going back. Some of us might just roll off onto one side, but eventually we're gonna meet in an all fours, even tabletop position. And from this all fours, even tabletop position, we're gonna go into a child's pose. So I'm gonna cue a closed leg child's pose where we walk our knees together, but you can always take a wide leg child's pose if the pressure on your belly is too much. So you'll send your hips back. Rest your bum on your heels. And then we're gonna use this as a side stretch today. So walk your hands over towards the left. You might cross right hand over left. And then put your awareness into your right side body. Good, walk it back through center and over towards the right. And then maybe you cross left hand over right. So again, for some of us, the closed leg doesn't work, especially say someone that has a bigger chest, and the chest pressing into the knees is just too much. You just open your legs up wide. Good, then walk yourself back through center, come back to all fours. And we'll start to prepare for our plank pose. So hands are spread, under shoulders are a little wider than shoulder with distance. You'll spread your fingers, you'll grip through your finger pads, okay? So my forefinger, my middle finger, ring finger, they're facing forward. And now from here, I want to come back to that protraction, retraction, right? So I'm going to find that place that's in between. I'm not completely protracted and I'm not retracted. I'm in the middle. And when I find that middle ground, then I'm going to draw my armpits back. My shoulder blades slide onto my back. The back of my neck is long. Okay? And from there, tuck the toes and we'll just hover the knees. So from here, lift the belly button up towards the spine and we're just going to hover and hold. Grip through your finger pads. Breathe. And here you might start to feel that Agni, that internal fire, begin to light up. Now you could stay right like this and hold, or you could lift the right knee towards the right elbow. Then come back to this hovering position, left knee towards left. And just from side to side, seeing if you can keep your hips level. So we want to try and keep a pretty straight line between our head and our tail. Let's do another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring your knees back down. Flip your right hand over. Palm face up, fingers in towards you. Maybe squeeze the hand into a fist. And then switch sides. Now, if this is too much on your wrists, which it can be for some people, especially if you've had troubles with your wrist in the past, you can always bring your hand to a fist and do this in a fist position. you can always come on to forearms. And I'm going to go deeper into forearm plank in another practice. We won't do it today, but you could always come onto your forearms as well. Now from here, we're going to thread the needle. And don't worry, we're going to move on to the other side as well. So inhale to reach the right arm up and then thread. So you'll lie down on top of the right shoulder. Here you could play with the wrist a little bit, maybe tapping fingers, squeezing the hand into fists, wiggling the fingers. And then we'll come back to all fours. All right, we're gonna head back into our plank pose. This time we're gonna go for a more traditional plank. So hands underneath the shoulders or just slightly wider than. And then maybe you're finding that retraction, protraction, retraction, protraction. Find somewhere in the middle, draw your armpits back, tuck your toes, hover your knees, engage your core. Now we're just gonna step back with the right leg, engage the quad, press the heel back, come back to the hover, step the left foot back. And we're gonna do this for a few rounds. So when we think about igniting that internal fire, the Agni, we can think about our Manipura chakra. Right? And our Manipura chakra is associated with our self-concept, our self-worth. Good. Step the right foot back, step the left foot back. Now we're in traditional plank. So my feet are about 2 fist width distance. I'm pressing the heels back. Engage the quads, flex the glutes. Think like you had a block in between your thighs. So we don't want our hips to be piked. We don't want our hips to be sagging. We don't want our head to be up or all the way down. We're creating that one solid plank. Steady breath. For another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Knees down. Flip the left hand upside down. Wiggle the fingers or squeeze the hand into fists. Right hand upside down. Wiggle the fingers or squeeze into fists. Good, and then we'll thread. Inhale to lift the left arm. Thread left underneath right. So tapas doesn't necessarily have to be like a difficult pose like plank pose. It can be, and it can be challenging yourself, staying in something longer than you think you can. But it can also be simply getting on your mat, right? Like when you're not gonna, but you do for 10 minutes, that can also be tapas. So it just depends upon you, your practices, but recognizing that it's moving beyond need or moving beyond want so that we can address our needs. Good, come on back up. We're gonna take one final variation. So you can take any of the previous variations, or perhaps it's something we didn't do, but we're gonna come back into our plank pose. So again, finding that middle space, drawing the armpits back, keeping the back of the neck long, lifting the navel towards the spine, stepping the legs back, engaging the quads, lifting the kneecaps, engaging the glutes. You could stay like this, right? Like where I'm pressing the heels back, or if you want a little ankle stretch, you could come on the tops of the feet, right? So I'm pointing my toes back and I'm on the tops of my feet, but now I'm stretching out the top of my foot. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. Bring your knees down, sit back onto your heels. This time we'll shake out the hands, shake out the wrists. All right, and now we're gonna come to downward facing dog. So we're not really gonna stay in downward facing dog, so I'm not really gonna cue it too much. We'll just pedal out the feet and move into lizard pose. So you'll inhale to lift the right leg, step the right foot outside of the right hand, and drop the left knee down. So we're gonna use this as more of a resting posture. So we're gonna keep the back leg down for this variation and just work on the groin, the hip flexor. All right, we're gonna take it to the long side of the mat. So tuck the left toes, lift the left leg, bring it to the long side of your mat, and we're gonna find some movement here. So just moving from side to side. Spoiler alert, in our flow portion of the class, there's gonna be a skandasana. So I wanna make sure that our inner thighs are spoken to, taken care of before we ask them to be in that position. It's a nice way to look at your warm-up. Like, I'm not gonna ask you to run a marathon before we've run around the block and then we worked up to, a mile and then 2 miles and then 3 miles. The same way for our warm-up. We can't expect our body to just go into something without taking it for a walk around the block first. All right, walk it back forward, frame out the right foot, step right foot back to meet left. We'll find downward facing dog and then into lizard left side. So I'm gonna just switch sides of my mat so that I continue to face you once we move into the long side of the mat. I'm creating an asana library that you might check in with, but it breaks down every posture and gives us helpful hints for how to be more present in our practice. And one of the hints for lizard is simply acknowledging the essence of a lizard. So what I suggested was adaptability. And part of the yoga practice oftentimes is non-attachment. And that sometimes feels out of reach for me. How can I just not be attached to an outcome of something I've worked so hard for? So I feel like there's that step in between, which is adaptability. And my ability to adapt equals my basically success in life, right? If we even think about who are the survival of the fittest, the ones who are able to adapt, to roll with the punches. All right, let's take this to the long side of the mat. And this time we're gonna bring it into a squat. So instead of being in such a wide stance, let's heel toe the feet in a few times and then come down into a squat position. So you might keep the hands planted, right? Or you can use the elbows to open up the knees. Notice where the weight is. It wants to fall to the inner blade edges of the feet. So we want to see if we can think about pressing the pinky toe edge side of the foot down as you let the bum release so it sinks down and lift through the heart and chest. And maybe you bring your hands into prayer. All right, yogis, we're gonna head into the flow portion of the class. We'll move through the flow 2 times. The first time we're gonna take our time. We're gonna spend 5, 6, 7 breaths in the posture, refining it and developing the strength that is required to hold a posture. And then the second time through, because we kind of laid out our roadmap, we know where we're going, we'll move a little bit more fluidly. So this can intensify that fire. That tapas both have the ability to do that, right? Holding a posture and moving faster. So acknowledging the ability to ignite Agni in either or, but that it's helpful to visit first. Just like we said, we're not gonna go on the marathon. Same thing with our flow. We're gonna walk around the block. We know where we're going, so we can then run around or jog around the block. So let's find our downward facing dog. All right, from downward facing dog, what I want you to do is roll forward into your high plank. And I find this to be a very helpful exercise in how long my dog needs to be. I tend to take a short dog and then I come into high plank and my shoulders are way over my wrists and it bothers my wrists. So you might step back and think of taking a little bit longer stance. It's okay that the heels don't come down, right? And then from there, come forward and see if you can find high plank. And we're just gonna do that a few times, rolling back and forth. Move with your breath. And then next time you get to plank position, hold. Now, you might simply hold here, or you could see about hovering the right toes about 2 inches above the earth and seeing if you can keep the hips level. And then we're going to do that with the left toes. Engage the quad, engage the glutes. One more time each side, right side, left side. Now this time we're going to take it back to three-leg dog. So you can lift the right side. You find your one-leg plank first. Then go back and up to three-leg dog, where you might bend the knee, reach the heel towards the bum and the knee towards the sky. See if you can keep your shoulders level. They're going to kind of want to turn, so really press down through your right hand. And then step the right foot in between the palms. Step the left foot up. Keep the feet about 2 fists width distance. Keep the knees bent deep. Start to lower your bum. Rise your heart and chest and your core body into chair pose. Right? Lots of postures in this practice to ignite that tapas or that fire or that Agni. And so for our chair pose, instead of having my arms up, I like to have them forward. When I put them up, it stresses my low back. So you can think about that same way we found in our plank position to find that kind of in between. Maybe you get a little bit deeper, but keep lifting through your heart and chest. Good, now bring your hands through prayer, thumbs to sternum. Keep your knees level, keep your hips level. Rotate from the navel, ribs, chest, collarbone to the left. Tendency is to do this, right? So you see how my whole hip girdle turned, my right knee came out, down in front of my left. So I'm gonna keep that level and I'm just finding a twisting, a rotating axis. Back through center, over towards the right. Same thing, it's gonna feel like you're twisting less, but you're actually getting more of the ringing sensation for your spine. Now, we're gonna step back with the left leg. So, you could see about hovering, you could see about almost thinking like you're flying into a warrior 3 first, but eventually we're gonna step the ball mount of the left foot down. We're in a twisted lunge position. So bring the torso up so that you're not leaning forward. And expand the arms. Bring the right hand behind the back. We're going to come along the long side of the mat. So I'm going to lift and pivot, turn the right foot in, left foot towards the back of the mat. Hips start level. I'm taking a triangle variation where I start to lower, so I'm tilting the pelvis and the left arm goes down. Now, we're going to play with some arm variations here. So instead of having this like gravity hanging feeling, We're gonna switch that up by bringing the left hand behind the back and lifting the right arm. And imagine that right arm is lifting you up. Engage the left quad, push through the big toe ball mound, almost like you're trying to pick up the left heel and slide a piece of paper under it. Technically, gaze is up, but it might be forward or down. Make sure your neck is comfortable. All right, now we're gonna switch this arm variation again. Right hand will come behind the low back. Left hand is gonna reach out in front as you bend the left knee. We're headed towards half moon pose. So I suggest a prop. I'm gonna use a water bottle. That tends to be a good height, same as a block. Try getting some blocks here in Guatemala, not so easy. And then we're gonna heel toe this right foot in and find a lift. So you might be working on just finding that lift, finding stability in the lift, seeing if you can line up heel, hip, heart, head, right? This left hand might release from the prop. And then you might even play with switching the arms again. Left hand behind the low back, right arm up. Steady breath. We're gonna come to warrior two legs. So my invitation is both hands behind the back. Bend into the left knee, step down, find warrior two in the legs, and we're removing the arms. It's another helpful tool I find in the yoga practice is to remove one part of the posture. That way you can focus on another part of the posture. Hips are level. This left knee wants to cave in. I'm gonna press it out so that it's over the knee. If I have to heel toe that foot a little bit more forward to do so, no worries. Shoulders are over hips. Now from here, without the arms, just think of your nose, turning it to gaze towards the left. Maybe you find a little bit more depth, or you back off. What would tapas be for you today? Those type A driven personalities that are go, 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 for them, tapas might oftentimes be backing off, right? Okay, so from here, I'm gonna turn my right heel in and bend into the knee. So I'm taking a goddess squat. Both hands are behind my back. Sink the tail down, lift through the heart and chest, just like we did in our regular squat where we were down lower, same thing. Now straighten the legs, whoo, reach the arms up, high to high prayer. And we're just gonna flow that out a few times. So you'll bend into the knees and bring the hands behind the back, opposite hand on top. And then straighten the legs, hands move back to high prayer. Just keep switching the hand you place on top behind your low back. Next time you're up, stay up, turn the feet inwards, fold forward, wide leg forward fold. Some of us might keep a neutral spine, right? Some of us might fold and round forward. Let your upper body relax. Let your head be heavy. See if you can find equal pressure in the tripod of your foot. Big toe ball mound, pinky toe ball mound, heel. Some people like to think of the foot as having four corners. You might think of it that same way, as placing the pressure evenly. Good, now find a halfway lift. Walk yourself to the front of the mat. Pivot on the ball mound of the left foot. Tent the left fingers and rotate to the right. So finding a lunge twist. Scissoring action of the legs. And now we'll take it into our flow. Right hand will come down to frame out the right foot. Any variation of flow. You might be stepping back and finding plank first. You might be finding chaturanga, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. If that feels like too much or you're not even sure what that is, drop your knees. Rock your heart and chest forward. Think of keeping that same plank position all the way down as your elbows move straight back behind you. Land your chest and your chin. Press the tops of your feet and your pubic bone. Lift from that place where you would have a bra strap. Baby cobra. All fours. Downward facing dog. And we're going to repeat that sequence other side. So I'm just going to flip myself around so I'm still facing you. And remember, we're starting with that longer stance. Or perhaps a longer stance for you. For me, I tend to take a short stance. So for me, it feels longer. And then let's start by rolling forward, finding plank. Plank to dog, plank to dog, plank to dog. Good. Next time you're in plank, hold plank. Lift the left foot. Lift the right foot. Lift the left foot. Lift the right foot. Lift the left foot. Keep it lifted. Pike your hips back, three-leg dog. Option to bend the knee, heel towards bum, knee towards sky, shoulders square. Step the left foot in between the palms. Step the right foot up. Keep 2 fists width distance. Start to lower your bum as you lift your torso. Reach the arms forward. If reaching your arms up high is for you, go for it. Maybe it's hands in prayer to start. Sink a little bit lower. Feel that fire burning away all those samskaras, right? Samskaras are those habitual patterns, basically neural pathways. So if we have 60,000 thoughts in a day, the majority of them will be unconscious. They're flowing through those samskaras. So how do we make them conscious? We purify. We do chair pose. Hands through heart center. Now, knees stay level, hips stay level. Rotate to the right. Again, it's not going to feel like you're doing much, but you're doing more. Less is more sometimes. All right, back through center and towards the left. Now, here's where we're going to take it to a lunge twist. You could see about hovering the foot. You could think of flying first, like you're taking a twisted warrior 3, and eventually coming to a lunge twist where we're not leaning forward, we're standing up, legs are in the crescent lunge position, and my upper body is twisted towards the left. Thumbs are at sternum. Expand the arms. Left hand behind the back. Bring it across the long side of the mat. Switch your feet. Left foot turns in, right foot turns towards the back of the mat, which is now going to be the front of the mat. Start to tilt your pelvis. Triangle pose variation. So right when you get down, we're going to find that switch, right? So it's like I'm lowering, like, oh, nope, I'm going to lift. Good. Now we're going to change it again. Left hand comes behind the back as you bend into the right knee. This right hand might reach out for a prop as we head into half moon. So I always recommend having a block at the front of your mat and the back of your mat. Especially in our Vinyasa practices where we're moving from front to back a lot, then we're prepared. So again, it might be you're just hanging on for dear life, balancing. If you want to play with the arm variation, right hand behind the back, left arm up. So I find this helpful to keep the heart and chest turning towards the side wall. And now we're going to warrior 2 legs, both hands behind the back. Shoulders over hips, hips level, right? Tendency to do this. Level the hips out. And then find the gaze. Left heel in. So we're in goddess squat. You might need to heel toe the feet in just a little bit. And then as you straighten the legs, hands to high prayer. Flow with your breath. Hands behind the back, bend into the knees. Hands to high prayer, straighten the legs. Next time you're up, stay up. Turn the toes in. Fold forward, wide leg forward fold. Maybe it's a different variation. So we will visit this posture again, but we will not hold it again. So if you're someone who wants to take a headstand, maybe work with your wrists, you can keep walking your hands back, flip the palms over. You can even use that to get a little traction. I'm wondering if you can hear that. It's very loud here now. It just started to pour rain. It's rainy season here in Guatemala. And when it rains, boy, it's so loud it can be deafening. All right, halfway lift. We're walking it to the front of the mat. Pivot. Tent the right fingers inside the left foot. Rotate to the left. Lunge, twist. Good, now we're having the opportunity for a flow. So last time I demonstrated a modified version of flow. So you could do that same thing where you step back, you find plank, then you bring your knees down. You could also take chaturanga, and that is where we start to come forward. So my shoulders come past my wrist crease a little bit, then I bend the elbows, so they're moving straight back. I'm trying to find 90 degrees with the arms. From chaturanga to upward facing dog, where my thighs don't come to the ground, but I'm taking a back bend. My glutes are halfway engaged, tops of the feet pressing, and then use the core body to lift up and over, downward facing dog. So if that's something of interest to you, your plank pose, practicing it daily will help you get there. All right, yogis. You're doing great. Stay with me. Stay with me. We've got one more time through each side, but we're going to flow and we'll add on. All right. Longer stance, downward facing dog. Recall your intention and reunite with your breath. High plank. Back to dog. High plank. Lift right, lift left, lift right, hold, three-leg dog. Option to bend. Step up, chair pose. Hands to prayer. Keep the lower body level, twist left. Twist right. Now, we're going back to a high lunge twist. So last time I talked about, well, you could see about flying like a warrior 3. You could also see about adding a revolved half moon on your way back, right? So maybe you find revolved half moon first, then you've already got the arms extended to come up into your lunge twist. If you've rotated, now you can open your arms. Right hand behind the back. Cross the long side of the mat. Right foot in, left foot, which is now front of the mat. Triangle pose. But right away we switch. And then we switch again for half moon. Right hand behind the back, left arm reaches, lift the right leg. Option to switch again. Okay, now we're finding warrior 2 with no arms. So the right hand will go behind the back. Find your warrior 2 legs. Right? Might not be smooth. It might be stumbling and falling. Keep your tapas. Keep going. Keep practicing. How will it ever be smooth? Being good, in quotes, good at it, What makes it good is the quality of your breath and the attention, your focus. All right, and your commitment. Okay, from here we're gonna go heels in, squat down, squat, squat, squat. Reach the hands up to high prayer. We'll just do that one time. Squat, hands behind the back. Reach the hands up to high prayer. This time, instead of our wide leg forward fold, we're gonna add skandasana. So you'll turn the left foot in, bend into the right knee, and come into skandasana. So I'm squatting to the inside of the right leg. Hands can be down, right? It could be something more like this. Maybe you're squatting down a little bit further. If you are, lift the left toes. Use the right elbow just like we did in our traditional squat to sink the tail down, get even on the sole of the right foot. Hands can come through prayer. Breathe. Good, now we're gonna take it into our lunge twist. So you're gonna lift, pivot, plant the fingertips of the left hand to the inside of the right foot, rotate to the right, and we're headed into flow, but maybe you wanna add something on. Maybe you just were craving a humble warrior. Go for it. Add on whatever you'd like to add on. We'll take a flow, and we'll meet back in our downward facing dog. You are always the authority of your practice. All I'm doing is setting the stage like we talked about, creating structure, safety for you to play within. All right, so if you're still kind of playing, let's start to move towards the flow. Things don't have to have a name. You don't have to have been taught. Try movements. Especially once you start to feel strong in your body and you start to know yourself. Okay, longer stance maybe for you. And then high plank. Downward facing dog, high plank. Lift the left foot. Lift the right foot. Lift the left foot. Three-leg dog. Option to bend. Step it up, chair pose. Hands through prayer. Rotate to the right, rotate to the left. Now here's where we're going back to a crescent twist, okay? You could do it where you're just seeing about flying. You could add revolved half moon. If you've done that, then your arms are already open. And we're meeting in a lunge twist with the arms open. Left hand behind the back, across the long side of your mat, triangle pose. Switch the arms, right hand behind the back, left arm up. Switch the arms for half moon. Maybe switch the arms here. Both hands behind the back, we meet in warrior two. From warrior two to squat, heels in, or goddess squat, heels in, toes out. Straighten the legs, hands to high prayer. Find your squat. Hands to high prayer, skandasana front. So we're going to the inside of the left leg this time. Lift and pivot, lunge twist. And then here's your opportunity to add on any postures, make some things up, take a flow. This will be the last flow of the practice. And we're going to meet seated on the heels with the hands behind us in a quad stretch. Good, and then you'll lift, fall off into one side. We're headed down onto our backs, but keeping in our theme of tapas and core, igniting the core body related to our manipura chakra, our self-empowerment, our confidence. We might find a boat pose or navasana. So if so, you'll find your sits bones. You can tent the fingers and bring them to your side as you lift the knees and find tabletop with the legs. Maybe that's plenty. Maybe you extend the arms. Again, I always find it helpful to kind of find, my range of motion, and usually then being somewhere kind of on the in-between, the Goldilocks place. Maybe extend the legs. And here's where we learn how to be determined. We learn about ourselves. We learn, oh, I thought I couldn't hold it, and then I held it for 5 seconds longer. So next time I'm about to scream at my kids, I know I've got 5 more seconds in me. We're capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit for. All right, we're going to slowly lower down for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend your knees. Let's stretch out the core. Feet are hip width distance. Knees slightly in front, or heels slightly in front of the knees. Arms down next to the sides of the body. You'll press down through the feet to lift the hips. Start to lower down, upper body, middle, low. Walk the feet wide. Windshield wiper the legs. Bring the feet back to sitting bones width distance. I say bones because if I say hip width, which I say, but sometimes we have a misconception of our hips. So we want to make sure that we're lining them up with the structure of our body. Cross right ankle over left. Lift that system of legs up. You might stay without using the assistance of the arms. You might use the assistance of the arms with the hands interlaced behind the hamstring or in front of the shin. And then we'll simply switch sides. Legs up, arms up, big shake. Stay with me. So often when the practice, especially when we're doing a video, right? And we're not in the class. Oh, turn it off, I'm done. No. This is where we employ tapas. This is when we see tapas in action. Shavasana is the most important thing you will do today. Stay. Do your Shavasana. Use your tapas. Use your will. Prioritize stillness. We don't know how to be still if we don't practice it. Our culture glorifies go, 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 go. So how do we prioritize getting right with ourselves? We find stillness. So find your Shavasana. Legs about. Mats width distance. Feet splayed off to the side. Arms about 6 inches off the sides of the body. Palms face up. Take a big inhalation. And then on an exhalation, audibly sigh it out. I see you. Don't get up and turn the video off. This is tapas. When you want to do, When you want to do the thing so bad, but you resist, that's what we're training here. So stay with me. I'm going to Shavasana with you. We'll take some moments of silence. Bring your awareness to your heart center. Allow your heart to be your North Star, and with each pump, it's as if it's sending light and consciousness out into the limbs of your body. You can meet that with movement, fingertips, toes, ankles, wrists. Shimmy of the legs, big stretch. Roll off onto the right side. Use the left hand to press up, heart first. Coming back into this time and space. And finding santosha, which is the second niyama, contentment in what you just chose to do. Sometimes what seems the most simple is the most difficult. And as you go back into your day and your week ahead, I'm reminded of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, telling us that there are 3 kinds of tapas. There's tapas of our physical body, which we just did. There's tapas of our mind. We talked about those samskaras, those neural pathways that have been programmed, and the majority of our thoughts flowing unconsciously, to becoming conscious and aware of them using tapas. And there's tapas of our speech. So making sure that what we're putting out into this world is what we want to receive back. Acknowledging yourself as the light, acknowledging yourself as having the ability to be the miracle in your own day and others. Take tapas with you, always a blessing, honor, and privilege. My heart sees and feels and smiles to yours. Namaste.